truth is, David, so the audience can get to know you a little, you wrote a book called National Police. 87,713. I said it right, didn't I? What inspired you to write that book? What were your experiences in the police?
Well, the story of writing that book was like a catharsis. Since I was forced into early retirement from the National Police, they basically got me out of the way. And so I wanted to put my professional experience from 20 years of service in the National Police down in black and white. Obviously, with its praise and its criticism, with its pros and cons, and that's what I'm saying. Some people will like it, others won't. I don't want to please or upset anyone, right?
I understand perfectly. Did you say that you were retired previously? I mean, you were retired early? Yes, why did they retire you?
They retired me because I spent some time reporting certain irregularities that happen in the National Police, and they started disciplinary proceedings of all kinds against me until they got me out of the way. Basically.
Great, David. Can you share the story of that book?
Well, the story begins at the National Police Academy in Avila. So when you enter, what do you experience? The good teachers, the bad ones? Well, you join an organization where you're supposed to defend and protect the rights and freedoms of the citizens. And you see that your dwelling, which is your room, is violated whenever the service chief there in Avila feels like it. You begin to notice the National Police's darker sides. You see that, for example, the person who was the director of the school at the time had his son working there as a contractor. You start to see that there are stories about the restaurant service or the cafeteria at the National Police School. People can see it. There's corruption. There are menus with cockroaches. There are things that are just disgusting, but they get covered up. All this happens because it's tied to political power, which is Spain's main problem. And I don't care if the sewer is blue, red, green, yellow, purple, or whatever color it is.
Explain a bit more about the idea that there's a direct correlation with the mistreatment that happens inside the academy. For example, like with the menus you mentioned, how does political power fit in? I don't really get it.
Well, because the restaurant or food service at the National Police School was connected to a former minister. So there are businesses all around the administration. Let me give you a clear example. All the former presidents of the government have millions of euros in assets. How is that possible? If a president doesn't even make 90,000 euros a year, the math doesn't add up for me, Jota. How can the so-called Campechano, Spain's first, supposedly have 2 billion euros? The math doesn't add up for me.
Who is the so-called Campechano, the first of Spain?
Juan Carlos? The king, the emeritus?
All right, then. Why? Is there political interest in providing poor service?
Well, because the worse the service is, the less money I get. It's that simple.
I didn't do it just to mess around or cause trouble.
No, not at all. It was simply
Negligence.
Negligence, of course, to boost performance. I've been there passing the tray like everyone else and asked, what kind of meat is that? And the lady kindly told me, I hope you ask, and nothing. I mean, to eat slop, straight up slop. Then the teachers have a different menu, a different set of privileges. They live in houses inside the school. They don't pay for water, electricity, or anything, not even the phone. Well, then I don't get it, damn it. I don't get it.
Okay, David, so that was one of your first experiences, right, when you started. So let's create a connecting thread. Tell me, how does your experience continue?
It then continues with an internship in Tetuban, Salamanca, and San Martin districts. And you start to see, well, some of the riffraff that exists in the National Police. I'll give you an example. There was a National Police officer who used to go from pathetic Police Program 2000. From Cotino, who was the general director of the police at the time, well, he went through all the cities of Serrano. Well, if it was a bakery, he'd eat a pastry. If it was any kind of store, he'd ask for something. I mean, disgusting. I stayed at the door. I was an intern, and I stayed at the door because, well, I didn't want to do anything else. I just stayed there. You know, it's typical of
an American film with the cop as the lead.
A police officer, and does he? Yes, it's a Jetta. Please confirm it's a Jetta, since we had an accident, and he claimed I was driving. When? That? You never do that with a trainee. Whenever a veteran is with a trainee, if anything happens, it's the veteran's responsibility. Whenever we've been asked about gross negligence, He always says he's the one driving, so the trainee isn't put at risk. Then obviously you see police officers who are true professionals, and they're the ones who motivate you to, let's say, become better at your job, to be a professional. Because I also don't like people who are vocational, because I understand that vocation intrinsically means that I am better than the rest. Does being a police officer make me better than a baker or a garbage collector? A police officer is basically a street garbage collector. The police just pick up the crap from the street, that's it. So that kind of people, you always try to be like a sponge around them. Let me give you an example. When I was in training, one, the security chief for the future president of the government, Al-Nar, who wasn't president yet, asked if I wanted to join him when he took office, but I declined. And I'll tell you why. Because a bodyguard generally has no idea about police work. A bodyguard is just a maid with a gun. In the royal household, sure, if it's from the government, they focus on providing protection, yes, but they haven't studied legislation, criminal law, or many other things. I've had colleagues tell me during promotion courses that they don't know how to use police applications. So I wanted to learn instead of just having a good position. I was sworn in, and 3 months later, I was involved in a shooting. At the door of a nightclub in Madrid, there was an altercation, and a guy pulled out a gun like Dirty Harry's and shot the doorman twice, killing him right in front of us. And I shot him and killed him. Obviously, it was but...
Let's see.
Yeah, how is it? Are you...
Saying there was a shooting at a nightclub in Madrid? In what?
Nightclub? The Vio in Chamartin? We were with a guy from Toledo interested in someone from Surla because of a Dominican guy, right? From a what? A Surla? A knife robbery. We told him to get in the car with us to see if we could find the person who did the robbery. And then, we ran into him head on, we heard a bang, and he asked me, was that a gunshot or something? Or was it just a warning or something? And then, we arrived at the scene. Yeah, in plain clothes, I'm telling you, in an unmarked car. And then, we arrived, and there was a guy with a Smith & Wesson this big, and right in front of us, he shot him twice and killed him. He was a guy bigger than me. He must have been, I'd say, about 6'1" or 6'2", and weighed around 220 pounds. The man collapsed instantly. So I get up there's a struggle, and I shot the attacker and killed him. Obviously, then you have to be charged with homicide, because there are many police officers who are very afraid. The law says that whoever kills another person has to be charged with homicide. That means I have to go through a trial. As a police officer, that I can't act like in the United States, where officers can kill without facing criminal charges. That's what I'm getting at. It was a good intervention, and it's the one I'm most proud of in my career. The survivors, since there were more people, sent me a letter I have framed at home that says, "We owe you our lives." So, that's just one more thing, that it was just another day on duty.